Welcome to the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner Prepcast, where we guide you through everything you need to know for your certification exam. Whether you're just starting or looking to refine your knowledge, this course will set you up for success. Brought to you by baremetalcyber.com. Let's get started. Domain 2 of the AWS Cloud Practitioner and Security discussions is focused on security, governance, and compliance. These topics go hand in hand, because security controls are only effective when governance ensures they are applied consistently, and compliance requires that the evidence is ready to prove those controls are real. Beginners should think of Domain 2 as the section that defines the rules of the road in the cloud. It's not just about knowing how to use AWS services, but about knowing where responsibilities lie, how to enforce consistent guardrails, and how to demonstrate accountability when challenged. These essentials form the foundation of trust in every AWS environment. One of the most important lessons in this domain is the Shared Responsibility Model. AWS secures the cloud itself, the physical data centers, networking, and managed infrastructure. Customers secure what they put into the cloud, their accounts, data, applications, and configurations. The dividing line moves depending on the service. Using EC2 gives you more responsibility than using a managed service like RDS. For learners, it helps to picture a rental property. The landlord locks the building and maintains the elevators, but the tenant locks the apartment door and secures their belongings. Knowing where your duties begin and end is critical. Identity is always the first line of defense, and IAM, Identity and Access Management, is the foundation. IAM controls who can access what, and AWS Identity Center, formerly SSO, simplifies managing access across multiple accounts. Centralizing identity reduces risk by eliminating scattered passwords and ensuring users log in consistently. Beginners should see this as issuing a single secure badge that opens only the doors you're authorized for. Without strong identity strategy, all other security layers are undermined. Identity-first governance is a best practice echoed throughout Domain 2. Least privilege reinforces that principle by ensuring users and services get only the permissions they need, nothing more. IAM policies should be tightly scoped, sessions should expire rather than last indefinitely, and tools like permission boundaries or ABAC tags provide additional refinement. For learners, the analogy is lending someone a car key only for the vehicle they need, and only for the weekend, not giving them the master keys to every car you own. Least privilege prevents accidental misuse and contains the damage if credentials are compromised. Logging is another universal best practice. CloudTrail provides API activity records, and with organization-wide trails, you ensure that every account, every region, and every action is covered. Logs should be stored centrally, retained for the appropriate period, and protected from tampering. Beginners should think of this as surveillance cameras in every hallway of a building, with recordings stored in a central archive room. Without logging, compliance and forensics are nearly impossible because you can't prove what happened or when. Monitoring builds on logging by providing real-time visibility. CloudWatch metrics, alarms, and dashboards show whether systems are healthy and responding appropriately. Monitoring transforms raw data into alerts that prompt action. For example, instead of discovering a database outage only after users complain, alarms notify teams when performance drifts out of normal ranges. For learners, monitoring is like having smoke detectors and thermostats. They provide immediate awareness, not just a record after the fact. Domain 2 emphasizes that monitoring is proactive, not reactive. Detective controls ensure environments stay in alignment with defined standards. AWS config rules continuously check resources against compliance requirements. Conformance packs bundle these rules to enforce broad policies like CIS benchmarks. When drift occurs, config can flag it or even trigger auto-remediation. Beginners should see this as an inspector making regular rounds in a factory, ensuring machines are operating within safe tolerances. Detective controls make compliance ongoing instead of a one-time event. Encryption by default is a recurring theme. AWS Key Management Service (KMS) provides centralized key control, while TLS protects data in transit. Setting defaults on S3 buckets, EBS volumes, and RDS databases ensures encryption is never forgotten. For learners, this is like requiring every parcel in a warehouse to be shrink-wrapped automatically, even if the sender forgets. Encryption must be treated as baseline hygiene, not an optional extra. It provides confidentiality, integrity, and compliance readiness in one step. Data protection requires more than just encryption. S3 controls like block public access prevent accidents, object ownership ensures bucket owners retain control, and MACI scans for sensitive information such as credit card numbers or personal identifiers. Beginners should picture this as both locking the vault and running audits to ensure valuables are where they belong. Protecting data involves prevention, detection, and ownership, all reinforced through AWS's layered controls. Threat detection comes from GuardDuty, AWS's managed threat detection service. It analyzes VPC flow logs, DNS queries, and CloudTrail activity to identify malicious behavior such as credential compromise or data exfiltration attempts. Findings can be routed into Security Hub or EventBridge for automated response. For learners, GuardDuty is the alarm system that never sleeps, trained on patterns of attack from AWS's threat intelligence. It doesn't just tell you something happened, it points directly to suspicious behaviors needing review. Vulnerability scanning ensures weaknesses are found before attackers exploit them. Amazon Inspector automates scans of EC2, ECR, and Lambda, flagging software packages with known vulnerabilities. Combined with patch management processes, this keeps workloads current. Beginners should imagine this as regular health checkups. Catching conditions early reduces the risk of serious illness later. Inspector embodies the idea that prevention is less costly than remediation, a principle critical to both governance and compliance. Security posture aggregation is the job of Security Hub. It brings together findings from GuardDuty, Inspector, MACI, and other services into one dashboard. Standards like CIS and AWS best practices provide a benchmark score to track progress. For learners, this is like consolidating medical tests into a single health report. It prevents teams from drowning in scattered alerts and helps them prioritize what matters. Posture aggregation makes governance actionable. At the network edge, defenses like AWS WAF, Shield, and Firewall Manager prevent attacks from overwhelming applications. WAF filters malicious web traffic, Shield absorbs large-scale denial-of-service floods, and Firewall Manager enforces policies consistently across accounts. Beginners should think of this as combining guards at the gate, fortress walls, and a central commander overseeing them all. Edge defenses ensure that even as applications grow, they are not left exposed to common internet threats. Finally, evidence readiness rounds out Domain 2. AWS Artifact provides compliance reports, SOC attestations, and agreements like HIPAA BAAs. These documents serve as official proof during audits. Beginners should view Artifact as AWS's certified library of paperwork that customers can borrow whenever regulators come knocking. Governance and compliance are not just about securing systems, they are about showing the receipts. Having evidence ready transforms compliance from a reactive scramble into a confident routine. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Landing zones, often deployed with AWS Control Tower, ensure every new account begins with a secure foundation. They automatically enable logging, security controls, and monitoring so no account starts from scratch. This reduces onboarding friction while maintaining uniform governance. For learners, this is like pre-furnished apartments, where smoke detectors, locks, and wiring are installed before tenants move in. Landing zones eliminate the risk of accounts being provisioned in unsafe or inconsistent ways, streamlining both security and operations. Backup and disaster recovery planning are also emphasized in Domain 2. Recovery time objectives and recovery point objectives guide how quickly systems must recover and how much data loss is tolerable. These goals must be tested through real exercises, not just documented on paper. For beginners, it helps to picture fire drills. It's not enough to own extinguishers, you must practice evacuations. Backup and DR practices prove resilience, ensuring that when disruption comes, recovery is not improvised but rehearsed and reliable. Network hygiene underpins secure operations. Virtual private clouds should be segmented so that workloads are isolated and traffic flows are controlled. Endpoints allow private communication with AWS services, avoiding exposure to the public internet. Beginners should see this as dividing a city into neighborhoods with controlled access roads. Network segmentation and hygiene ensure that if one zone is compromised, attackers cannot freely roam across the entire environment. Clean, well-planned networks are the backbone of security governance. Cost and security governance are tightly linked. Budgets and alerts provide guardrails to prevent overspending, while tagging enables cost allocation by project or department. This visibility is not just about finances, it supports accountability. If teams see how their choices impact costs, they are more likely to follow governance standards. Beginners should think of this as utility bills in a shared apartment. Knowing who used what encourages everyone to turn off the lights when leaving the room. Cost awareness enforces discipline across both financial and security dimensions. Culture plays a defining role in governance. Training ensures users know their responsibilities. Runbooks define response steps, and rehearsals prepare teams for real incidents. Without culture, even the best technical controls can be undermined by human error or neglect. For learners, this is like a sports team. Drills, playbooks, and coaching matter just as much as the rules of the game. Security culture ensures governance is lived daily, not just written in documents. Change safety is another critical takeaway. Infrastructure as code allows every modification to be tracked and reviewed before deployment. Review gates, like code approvals, prevent risky changes from slipping into production unchecked. Drift detection ensures that live environments remain consistent with the intended configurations. Beginners should picture this as a construction site, requiring building permits and inspections before changes proceed. By formalizing change, organizations prevent accidents and preserve compliance. Evidence management is a life cycle, not a one-time activity. Compliance reports from Artifact must be stored securely, tagged for retrieval, and refreshed as new versions are released. Retention ensures auditors can review historical compliance, not just the latest snapshot. For learners, this is like maintaining an updated portfolio of financial statements for every year. Evidence only builds trust if it is current, organized, and accessible on demand. Artifact provides the materials, but customers must manage them responsibly. Cross-account patterns improve governance by centralizing where it helps. Logging, key management, and security findings often flow into a central account for audit or analysis. This reduces the risk of tampering and simplifies oversight. Beginners should see this as consolidating sensitive documents in a headquarters safe, instead of leaving them scattered across branch offices. Centralization creates clarity, consistency, and accountability, while still allowing teams to operate independently. Measuring success requires metrics. Key performance indicators might include how many accounts have CloudTrail enabled, the percentage of resources encrypted, or the average time to remediate findings. Tracking these trends over time shows whether governance is improving. Beginners should picture this like fitness tracking. Daily steps or weekly averages reveal progress and highlight when habits slip. Without metrics, organizations cannot prove governance is working or identify areas needing reinforcement. Domain 2 also highlights common pitfalls to avoid. Publicly accessible S3 buckets remain one of the most frequent missteps. Overly permissive IAM policies expose accounts to abuse. Root account usage is another red flag, since the root user has unlimited power and should be locked down. For learners, these are like the most common household hazards: unlocked doors, faulty wiring, or expired smoke alarms. Avoiding these pitfalls prevents many breaches before they begin. Final readiness comes from prioritizing fundamentals over trivia. Domain 2 emphasizes principles like least privilege, encryption by default, monitoring everywhere, and logging consistently. These are the habits that keep environments safe and compliant. For learners, it helps to view fundamentals as the building blocks of a secure foundation. Without them, no advanced controls matter. Mastering these essentials ensures both exam success and real-world resilience. In conclusion, Domain 2 is about applying principles and guardrails consistently across AWS. Governance ensures accounts are structured wisely, security enforces preventative and detective controls, and compliance provides evidence of both. For learners, the final message is clear: codify governance with automation, monitor continuously, measure outcomes, and improve steadily. Security in the cloud is not a one-time project, but a living discipline. Mastering Domain 2 equips you with the mindset to operate safely, prove compliance, and adapt as AWS and the threat landscape evolve. That concludes today's episode of the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner Prepcast. Be sure to tune in for the next episode and visit us online at baremetalcyber.com or cyberauthor.me for more resources, including news, mailing lists, YouTube videos, podcasts, and much more.